Alright, so in the last video I made a little building to put some chests in to have a more organized storage area, and now I'm going to do the interior of it and also sort a bunch of my items. But while I do that, I'm going to read a few Reddit stories. Am I the asshole for having fun while my partner is trying to give me the silent treatment? I, 30 female, have been in way too many relationships with passive-aggressive people pleasers. Years of therapy have finally paid off, and I'm starting to do things differently. My partner, 30 male, is mad at me. I have a pretty good idea why, and it's not something I did, nor do I have any control over the situation. I'm sick and he's upset. I took time off work to rest. He's been sulking around the house randomly, standing in the room I'm in for a few seconds, waiting for me to ask him what's wrong, I think, and then walking away and holing up in the room playing video games for hours. It's very clearly the silent treatment. He believes it's my fault he's upset, and he wants me to fix it. In the past, getting the silent treatment would have really hurt my feelings, and I would have gone and tried to smooth things out, which probably would have led to a few hours of talking about feelings and boundaries, which is utterly exhausting, especially when it happens multiple times a week. But this time, I just don't want to, so I let him sulk, and I hang out in the living room, watching movies, talking to friends, playing games, and just trying to have a good time. He just got home from running errands, and I was listening to some fun, hype music and having fun. He walked straight to the room and didn't say hi or try to start a conversation. So am I the asshole for knowing my partner is upset and not initiating a conversation, and for not being bothered by the silent treatment? I don't think you're the asshole in this situation. I think the silent treatment is, something people do in high school relationships. I think it's very immature, giving someone the silent treatment. Saying that, I do kind of not really do it. I think I've gotten better at communicating and not giving people the silent treatment. But definitely in the past, or recent past, there have been times where I've kind of given people the silent treatment. Not really. I tend to always communicate when someone initiates conversation with me or texts me first. I tend to always text back, but that doesn't necessarily mean I always initiate. I think when I'm feeling some sort of way about someone or a certain situation I have with someone, I think I tend to not initiate as much, but I don't think that's giving the silent treatment. I mean, I've never had a girlfriend, so I've haven't really had to experience something like that. But with friends or family, I never really had issues with that. But maybe friends, there have been times where I've quote unquote given the silent treatment, when in reality I'm just not really initiating as much. I'm more just responding to their texts. I think I'm usually good at that, responding to their texts and not necessarily pushing down my feelings, but kind of setting them aside for the time being. But I also don't think that's a good thing to do either. I think it's good to communicate if you're having some sort of feelings about someone or a certain situation, maybe something that bothered you or something someone did to you that made you feel a certain way and it's kind of eating away at you. I think it's better to communicate with that person rather than just shoving those feelings down and hoping they go away. Yeah, there's been times where I've done that and they have gone away, but there's been other times where people have done stuff to me that have bothered me and I haven't really said anything about it. And then they do it again and kind of just builds up until I kind of blow up in a sense. And I'm like, you do this to me every time. Why are you still doing it to me? But in reality, I have myself to blame too, because I didn't communicate that it was something that bothered me. Maybe it's obvious to me that they're doing something that bothers me, but it might not be obvious to them. So it's important to communicate that you're feeling some sort of way if someone is doing something or treating you a certain way or behaving a certain way that's making you feel, uncomfortable or just having resentment towards them or something like that. And it's important to communicate that early on before resentment builds up and you end up having a bigger fight over it than maybe it should be. In this particular situation, I don't think you're the asshole, because a relationship involves two people, right? You shouldn't have to always be doing the heavy lifting in a relationship, and the fact that he's giving you the silent treatment, expecting you just to fix things and, do all this stuff by yourself, he needs to pull his weight too, right? He can't expect that from you. So yeah, I think letting him sulk and, the fact that you're trying to have a good time is, I don't think, a bad thing at all. I don't know if you're necessarily rubbing it in his face at all, but maybe it seems like that from his perspective. But if he sees you like that, then it's his job to communicate his feelings to you, right? It shouldn't be your job to read his mind and try and fix things from the outside. It's his job to communicate what he's feeling and how you can help him, or what you can do in order to help him get out of this feeling, I guess. If it's something you did, there's nothing you can really do. Maybe you know what it is, but it's his job to pull his own weight and communicate what he's feeling so that you guys can both, maintain a relationship and grow it. I actually hate working from home, and I'm tired of pretending it's perfect. I know this is going to be unpopular on Reddit, where everyone seems to be a software engineer who loves staying in their pajamas, but I need to say it. Working from home has destroyed my mental health. When the pandemic started, I loved it. No commute, saving money on gas, cooking at home. It felt like freedom. But 3 years later, I feel like a prisoner in my own home. My living room is my office. My bedroom is my break room. There's no separation between work life and home life. I wake up, sit at the computer, work until dark, and then stay in the same room to watch TV. I miss the small human interactions, saying good morning to the receptionist, grabbing coffee with a coworker, the decompression time during the drive home. I feel socially isolated and incredibly lonely. Also, I feel like my career has stalled because I'm just a name on a screen, not a person in the room. Does anyone else feel like returning to the office, at least hybrid, would actually save their sanity, or am I just crazy? Sounds like someone needs a hobby. No, I'm just playing. But I mean, this is a fair point. Like during COVID, I think it was super nice for me at least. I was in school at the time, and it was nice when it first started. Like back in 2021, we were like fully online for school. And it was nice just waking up, rolling out of bed, and then being able to go on Zoom and not even really pay attention in class. It was really nice, I feel like. And then I could just walk downstairs if I wanted a snack or something. So I did really like it. But it seems like in this situation, he's been doing it for a while and he's getting kind of sick of it. And to be fair, I think at a point in time, I did kind of get sick of online school for a few reasons. One of the reasons was it was harder to learn, I feel like, which I mean, I was in high school still, so I didn't really care that much. But once I got into college, I was doing some online school, some in-person school, and it was definitely harder to learn for me in terms of online school. But I think the other main thing, and something that was mentioned in the story, is the fact that there's not a lot of human interaction. You are pretty much just a name on a screen, and it's hard to, have those little interactions. And that was something I missed during my time in online school during COVID, was having those little interactions, especially in high school. I got so used to seeing my friends every day and everything was normal. We would hang out after school. But with COVID, that kind of changed. I couldn't really see them every day, and we would, still like play video games and stuff a lot, but it was just different. I think in the future for me, working from home would be great, like on paper at least, but I feel like I would want to go into work sometimes too, just to have those little interactions and stuff. I mean, depending on how bad the commute was for my work, but I think it would be nice. Currently, my parents work from home and they have each other to, their desks are maybe like 20 steps away from each other, so they're not super alone. But it sounds like this guy just really needs some sort of hobby, because he said there's no separation between his work life and his home life. Well, yeah, that's fair, because you're working from home, that makes sense. But I think you can make a separation between your work life and your outside of work life, right? Your outside of work life doesn't just have to be at home. You can go out and do something, maybe pick up some sort of sport or some sort of hobby that you can do outside of your house. Maybe going on hikes, or joining some sort of run club, or playing pickleball or something. I don't know. Pickleball is like the first sport I could think of that's pretty easy to pick up. But just doing some sort of hobby outside of your house. Get out of the house. Your work life and your home life obviously are both in your house, so do something that's outside of your house. And I get that, working from home maybe has destroyed his mental health, but I honestly just think he needs to go outside, like literally go outside, right? And I don't think this has to be a permanent thing necessarily. I think doing hybrid might be good. Like I said, it gives you kind of best of both worlds. You can still work at home, but you also get to go in the office every once in a while to get those, little human interactions and get out of the house, really. I think it's good to get out of the house. I mean, I say that now, and these past like month or two, I've been just rotting in my room because I've been on break and not really doing anything. But I think it's always good to get out of the house. Just go on a walk sometimes, and then, just get a hobby that's not in your house. Like, just get out of the house. I don't think you're alone on this necessarily. I think people who work from home definitely experience some form of like loneliness, or I don't know, losing their sanity. I don't necessarily think you have to switch to like only going to the office. I think hybrid might be a smarter idea if you can do that. But also just getting a hobby that's outside of the house might help you save your sanity a little bit, just so you can get out of the house. Am I the asshole for not telling my brother his wife is cheating on him? Alright, it's a bit of a lengthy story and a lot to unpack, so bear with me. So my brother and sister-in-law have been married for a long time, 3 kids, and have built a whole empire together. When she married him, he had nothing, and they built everything from scratch. To be honest, I'm sure he wouldn't be able to have done it without her. Anyway, my sister-in-law caught my brother cheating once before, and she decided to forgive and try to work on their marriage. They went to therapy. They seem to be doing much better. FYI, my sister-in-law is also my best friend, and she told me that she caught him cheating again with the same girl, but this time she didn't let him know that she knew. According to her, it would just be embarrassing for her to cause a whole scene and then still not leave him. Damn. So she told me she doesn't want to leave him because the companies are all under his name. Yes, he worked for it, but so did she. I mean, she worked multiple jobs to help provide when he was struggling. Now she stays at home, and he provides for everything. She lives like a queen. The issue is, though, in the country where we live, there is no such thing as taking 50% from your partner, even without a prenup. The only thing she would be entitled to alimony, and though it would be a big amount, it would nearly not be the same lifestyle. So she said, if I divorce him, she will come and take my place eventually, have a bunch of kids with him, and my kids will be pushed away like they never existed. She experienced this with her own mother and siblings, where the second wife of her dad and their kids were the only thing that mattered, while his ex-wife and kids were struggling. So her mentality is like, I have struggled with him and suffered to get him to the point where he is. I'm not going to gift him all ready and successful to the other woman. She knows that if she doesn't initiate divorce, he won't ever do it. So yeah, she also told me that to be able to cope with him cheating, she started cheating too. Somehow that has helped her being able to control her emotions and be less angry. Bro, what is this situation? I am against cheating in all ways, shape, or form, even though I can understand where she is coming from. He is still my brother. I'm not planning to tell him, to be honest, but does that make me the asshole? Am I betraying my own brother? This sounds like a messy ass situation. And honestly, I don't think you should get involved. I get he's your brother and like this is your best friend too, but it sounds just so messy, honestly. Like the brother has cheated twice now. I guess they went to therapy before to try to fix their marriage. And the second time, the wife just didn't really say anything because I kind of get that. Like, if you're not going to leave him, it's not really worth bringing up to cause a scene. Like, I mean, I kind of get it. But, like, the whole cheating to cope with it, I don't really understand that part. And the person telling the story was like, they get it. And I was just like, I don't really understand that. But, I mean, I guess I've never really been in this situation, so I can't really relate to it at all. From the person telling the story, I mean, I don't think you're really betraying your brother because he sounds like not really a great person to begin with. Obviously, if the situation was different and he had never cheated and, you know, done any of that stuff, then yeah, I'd say maybe you're betraying your brother because he's being cheated on and you're kind of keeping your mouth shut. But in this very messy and complicated situation, I don't think it's really your place to get involved because, like I said, he's been cheating in the past and she's cheating now. The wife is cheating now. And I just think if you were to get involved, it would just rope you into this whole mess that they're in. And I don't think you really need to be a part of that. So yeah, I don't think you're the asshole for not wanting to get involved. And I would recommend not getting involved either. I think it's their job to figure out what they're doing with their whole marriage and relationship and situation. I don't really think it's your place to, oh, I mean, it might be your place to say something because obviously you know and it's your brother. But like I said, he's not a very good person and he's been cheating in the past too. So I don't want to say he deserves it because I don't think anyone deserves to be cheated on. But I mean, if anyone deserves it, it's probably him because he's cheated twice now. And yeah, but this situation is just so complicated. I don't think it's smart for you to get super involved with it. I am addicted to my wife in an unhealthy way. I have been married for 4 years now, to who I loved so much back in the days. We dated for 2 years, then married after. We never been intimate during our relationship, maybe kisses and hugs, but due to religious reasons, both of us agreed to wait until marriage. So our first night after marriage, we did it for 5 hours. 4 sessions or something. I remember that night like it was yesterday. Anyway, since we married, I am not interested in any other woman but her. I don't get tempted or anything. Everyone told me that is only at the beginning, and it will fade. But it intensified during these 4 years to the point where I would finish my work fast to go back home to her, and she is there waiting for me every single time. But I have decided to break the cycle, and my friends told me to go with them, and I agreed, and she never said no to any of my plans. She herself always cancels plans to stay home. But when I was at the airport going to the trip already, she called and told me, I need you, don't go on this trip. And guess what? I could not say no. I just left the airport and went back home, and I did not regret it. It felt like the trip was not worth it. I love staying home with her. Okay, well, this is supposed to be an advice story. I didn't really see anything about asking for any sort of advice, but I'm assuming he's asking if this is kind of a healthy thing to have and to feel. I guess a healthy habit to have. And I think there's a few different things I want to touch on here. First of all, the relationship you have with your wife sounds very good. Like, it sounds like you love each other a lot, and I think that's a good thing. And the fact that you've been married for 4 years and you still feel that spark. I think what people are telling you is right in most situations, where down the line, I think that spark is slowly going to fade, but obviously you'll still love each other. Hopefully, like years and years down the line. But I mean, the fact that you're going 4 years strong in marriage and you still feel that spark is really good. But I think this is a common thing of codependency. If you don't know what codependency is, I mean, I honestly don't exactly know what it is. But from what I've read and heard online, it's sort of where you depend on someone else for your happiness, essentially. And it sounds like this relationship is very codependent, where you spend a lot of time together and you both make each other really happy. But the problem with codependency is if anything were to happen to one of you, like something unexpected, I don't think they're going to divorce or like break up, I guess, at least anytime soon, because it sounds like they're in a very happy and loving relationship. But if anything were to happen to them, like they got sick or got in some sort of accident, then their whole life kind of gets turned around. Where you've been codependent on each other for so long, it's like you rely on each other for a lot of things, emotionally speaking, and I guess in a lot of different forms. But when that goes away, when that person unexpectedly goes away, then there's that void that needs to be filled, where they spent all this time shutting all of their other relationships and other things that they could have been doing like away and just pushing them away because they've been so codependent with their partner. But now that they unexpectedly don't have their partner, which I'm not saying this, I mean, I think it's unlikely usually for this to happen, but I'm just saying it could happen. Where if it were to happen, then there's going to be a huge void that needs to be filled. And that's why I think codependency isn't always great. Even if you feel like you have a very good relationship and a very loving relationship with either, a partner or a friend. And I think it's always important to keep all your other relationships and your life outside of your quote unquote codependent relationship or loving relationship you have with someone. But you should always, keep all those other relationships outside of that relationship that takes priority usually. I think you should not only just focus on that one relationship that should take priority, but it shouldn't make you push away everything else around you or everyone else around you. And that's something I hope I don't do. If I do ever get in a relationship, is push away all my other friends or all my other, hobbies or passions or things like that. And I don't think I will. I think I will hopefully not become codependent on that person, but still make them a priority and still hopefully have a loving relationship with them. But also, or hang out with my friends or do some of my hobbies that I enjoy, and hopefully they can be a part of that too, though. But they shouldn't always be a part of that, I think people do that too with their relationships, with their boyfriends or their girlfriends. They have to invite them to all of these different events they go to with their friends or, make them a part of all of their hobbies. And I think that's good, but also there's a point where maybe you should have your own separate lives, Maybe you hang out with just your friends for once, or let her hang out with just her friends. Or maybe if you're going to some sort of event, you don't have to invite, your partner. And I think that's totally fine every once in a while. But obviously, if you're in a loving relationship, you obviously would want them to come to whatever sort of thing, right? Because they're obviously going to make it a better time, hopefully. But I think it's good to have your own sort of life outside of your life with your relationship and your partner. Obviously, when you're married, I think your lives become intertwined, and I think what marriage is about is you're sharing your life together. But I think there should be some things you do just by yourself, do just on your own, where it's just your sort of thing, because I think it's healthy to have time away from your partner too. I think it is kind of unhealthy that he's almost addicted to his wife and spending time with her. I think it's romantic too in a way, but if there does ever come, and I hope this is never the case for anyone, but if there does ever come a time where something happens to one of them and they unexpectedly, lose that relationship through whatever means there is. I don't really want to get into specifics, but if they were ever to lose that relationship, there's going to be a huge void that needs to be filled. And that huge void is due to the fact that this whole time you've been spending and growing this relationship with that person, you've devoted all your energy into that. And because of that, now you don't really have anything else outside of that. It's going to be hard to kind of come back from that if that ever were to happen. Am I the asshole for cutting out a friend for lying to me? I had a friend who was vegan. It was well known through our friend group that she's vegan. However, her boyfriend was not, so it was not out of the ordinary for there to be real meat in her house. They just used different cutting boards, frying pans, etc. It was in the summer, and she was having a barbecue. There was like 25 people there. I had gone over and she asked if I wanted a vegan burger or a meat burger. I asked for a meat burger and her boyfriend who was on the grill was like, yep. So I thought he was cooking everything. At some point they had switched positions and she was now at the grill. She hands me a plate and I fixed the sides I wanted and we all sat down. As I was eating I thought it felt a bit off, but it was fine, it wasn't horrible. So I continued to eat it. After I was done, she asked me how I liked the burger. And I said that texture was kind of weird, but I enjoyed it overall. She then grinned at me and said it was actually the vegan burger. This is where I may have been the asshole. I got mad and yelled at her that it was messed up. If I had done it to her, she would have been pissed, but I respect her choice, and I would never do that to her. She then started playing the victim, that if I gave her real meat, she could have gotten really sick, and that it wasn't the same. I told her it was exactly the same. I haven't talked to her since, and she wasn't invited to my wedding. I still have friends who were at the barbecue that say I was justified, but holding on to this feeling is a bit overkill. I still don't think I am in the wrong, but would I be the asshole? Okay, I think situationally, I don't think you're in the wrong in this situation, because if roles were reversed, I think you had a good point there, that if you were to give her a meat burger, then she would probably get mad at it. That's assuming that she wouldn't get sick from eating meat, but I mean in this case she would. But let's say hypothetically she doesn't get sick from eating the meat and it's more of just a choice thing that she doesn't like to eat meat, then yeah, I think that's totally valid. I'm saying it's totally valid that you're in the right, that she would get pissed if, you know, she ate meat that thought was a vegan burger, right? If she wouldn't actually get sick from it. But I think your reaction to the situation might make you a bit of an asshole. I think I want to say it's like a harmless prank. And although logically you might be in the right in the situation, I don't think, you know, holding on to this or holding a huge grudge over it is super worth it. I mean, it depends on how close you are with this friend. It sounds like maybe you don't like them to begin with or might have something against them other than just this, you know, little prank they did on you. And I totally get it that you are probably in the right in the situation and it's hard to let that go and make amends with that. But I think it is a bit an overreaction to not invite them to your wedding. And I think I agree with some of the friends that she was saying was telling her that she was justified. I totally agree with that. But holding on to it is a bit maybe overkill. And I think it's something you really shouldn't hold a grudge over. Unless there's something else that's egging at you and it's giving you, this is almost giving you a reason to resent this friend, right? I don't think you're in the wrong, but I think you would be an asshole for taking this a little bit too far and not inviting them to your wedding and pretty much cutting them off just for this little prank, I guess. So yeah, I think your reaction does kind of make you an asshole, but I'm not saying you're in the wrong at all.